So my goal was to get him to start shaking when he would get mad or and yell. And as soon as he did, I was just going to pick my rifle up and
Was it possible? I mean, I know the guy we're talking about was a warlord, so he's a powerful guy. He's got people around him. But, you guys are all over the place and you have access. Did it ever cross your mind that there was going to be an ability to, I don't know, walk into his house one day and just blow him away with a silencer?
well, then I got worried about the murder thing and all that. So, I mean, that sounds like a bad way to say it. But, I mean,
The way you
I don't
just
mean
said the murder thing, like,
but-
that inconvenience.
no, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah, you're thinking
It's war.
like, well, I'm thinking, yeah, I thought the guy needed dead, and if nobody, I've always been the guy that if nobody else will do it, I'll step up and do it, and
All right, okay.
But then I had this brilliant idea. So this is after I felt he had us set up. So now I'm like, yeah, I just need to kill you.
You want top off?
Yeah.
I got you.
And so I was like, we were at this on this mountain pass, real tall place, and a lot of the people that worked for him were around us. And I had my plan made up. And this was a guy, he looked like Jabba the Hutt. He was a big, giant, fat guy with a big turban and big jowls, and his body looked like Jabba the Hutt. And he was known to have a big temper. And he wore a pistol in a shoulder holster. So I thought, okay. And I got the interpreter. Again, I'm military. I haven't told anybody, but I already figured in my own mind that if I feel threatened, I'm authorized to use lethal force. And as long as I did it because I felt threatened. And then the other calculation was that, okay, we're in this guy's thing surrounded by his people, and there's just a handful of Americans. So what's going to happen if I kill him in front of all his people? But then I thought, yeah, we're badass enough that if I kill him, they ain't going to mess with us. Mm. And I was prepared to, and I guess I didn't tell anybody else about my plan, so I guess they just had to go along with it. So
clean up after.
Yeah. So I got the interpreter. Interpreters sometimes, if you want to play hard ass, they're hard to get to go along because, like if I say I want you to tell this guy in no uncertain terms this, a lot of times they play it down. They don't want to be as mean as you want them to be. So I told the guy, hey, look, I need this to be verbatim, exactly like I want. So I sat cross-legged like this on the floor. I put my rifle across my lap, safety off, like here. The guy, Pasha Khan, is sitting over here to my left. So then I have the interpreter, and I start yelling at him, and I start calling him stuff. And
you yell?
Yeah.
You do?
I can.
You seem like the guy who doesn't yell. You seem like you're right here all the time.
Well, you can say things. We don't have to be, I don't have to be screaming it, but you can say it loudly and with malintent. And I seem to have a way of getting that across if I want to. I mean, I'm not like you guys have had guys that have been in a lot of, you guys have guys on here that have been in a lot of big bloody fights and all that. Hey, none of mine turned bloody. I've blown people up with various ways that called in bombs or other things have blown people up. But I've never done those, so I'm not that kind of badass guy. But so my goal was to get him to start shaking when he would get mad or yell. And as soon as he did, I was just going to pick my rifle up and kill him.
Blow him away because you felt threatened.
Because I felt threatened.
But he didn't.
Well, what happened was, So now it starts getting loud, and then the case officer that was in charge speaks the language, and he's somewhere else in the room, and he hears something going on, so he runs over. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I go, "I'm getting ready to kill him," and and he goes, "What?" I go, "Yeah. As soon as he yells or reaches there, I'm gonna kill him right here in front of everybody." He goes, "You can't do that." I go, everybody has said he needs to die. My my rules that I'm under allow me to kill him if I feel threatened. He goes, "No, no, we're not going to do that." So we didn't. Now, I'm glad in the end that didn't happen. I'm not sure. I'm glad for that guy that it didn't happen, but I'm glad for myself, my own well-being, mental health, and all that. That, when a couple times in my career, I've had the job where you are tasked with getting rid of somebody. Now, in this case, I wasn't tasked to get rid of him, but I have eliminated some or planned and managed operations that have taken players off Al Qaeda guys off the battlefield. And when you spend your weeks and months only thinking about hunting down somebody to get rid of them, I think it takes something out of you. You're living for that. And maybe everybody's not that way, but for me, I'm all in. If I go in on a mission, I'm all in. So I don't think that's good for you. But at least in those cases, I was directed to and had the backing of the U.S. government to do that. Now, on this guy, Pasha Khan, had I done that, I'd have been justifying it to myself. It essentially would have been murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad I didn't have to come to grips with that after.
Objectively, the guy is a bad guy. Objectively, it sounds like the evidence points to he literally killed the first guy in Afghanistan who was one of your guys. It is a war-torn area. I'm kind of like, I guess, steel manning this case here as to what it was. Him not being around to be able to do those things would probably be a good thing. At the same time, though, we talked earlier about how things looked and how it can be stupid sometimes. Like, oh, why do you have wood over your covering right there just for safety precautions? In this case, though, I know it's fucking crazy at that time in Afghanistan. There's a lot of stuff happening. But if, somebody at ABC News or CBS News got a hold of some story where, some Delta Force case officer, whatever you want to call him, guy, killed a dude at a sit down, and even if it got spun the wrong way and they didn't actually have the exact story how it went down, the effect that could have, the third order effects that could have compared to just taking this one guy off the battlefield actually are probably worse. No?
Yeah, and that's funny how things can spin that way, right? And in the agency, there's a saying that no matter how much secrecy that we use in something, you always have to figure that someday somebody's going to leak it, and it's going to be on the story on the Post, and so you kind of have to be prepared for that. Yeah. So so that was my fourth CIA team. So in 2001 and 2, as a soldier, I was on 4 different CIA teams.
That's a lot it's very hard for me to put myself in those shoes because I wasn't a soldier and I wasn't in a war-torn area and I never worked with the CIA and how that all goes down. But I would imagine just from like a relationship building, trust building, and high stakes life and death situation scenario, moving from team to team like that during such a red hot time in that country has got to be stressful, no?
Yeah, but on one hand, I was a chance, and I was in my 40s, right? And I'm living out my childhood dreams, man.
Mm.
I'm in a place. There's no rules. It's me, and me and rules never got along great anyway. And it's Wild West. You're out there. I've had to negotiate my way through checkpoints that are manned by some Afghan guy out in the middle of nowhere, and it's either we're going to shoot or we're going to come to an agreement. It's like the Wild West where you walk into town and meet somebody on the street, um, and those, it's to be honest, it was pretty thrilling. It has chances. I'm a believer in servant leadership, and I use that. So with the local Afghans that I worked with, I tried to share in their hardship, take care of them. I would make sure that guys would have, these really poor guys, that you had hot tea to drink in the middle of the night, or take care of them. I would help them unload trucks, like we would go do a raid on a weapons cache or something. I would try to help unload the vehicles and trucks, and other people didn't do that. And the Afghans started being protective towards me.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.